Howdy folks, Matt here with Gulf Coast Fit, and today I want to share with you one of my go-to foam rolling routines pertaining to the upper body. I'll do this routine for anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes before I work out or after I work out. I'll slow it down a little bit. Beforehand, if I'm rolling, I'll spend no more than 30 to 45 seconds per muscle group or per region that I'm addressing. If it's post-workout, I'll slow it down a little bit, and I might take a minute to a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes if I'm working to penetrate my muscles and get a little bit deeper. It just depends on how I'm feeling. So I want to run you through an upper body based foam rolling routine that should help you feel prepped and ready for most any workout, especially if you're feeling a little bit of DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, feeling stiff, tight, like your joints could use a little boost in range of motion, or if your muscles could do with a little bit more flexibility. And I don't know about you, but that's how I feel a lot of the time when I'm about to work out. And as far as safety and productivity goes, then you want to make sure that you're spending time enhancing your range of motion, so that way you've got the requisite range of motion to address whatever movements your workout might entail. So I'm going to start here, and you'll see I've got kind of a shorter foam roller. I do have a lot of different foam rollers. This is just the one that I take with me when I'm traveling around. It is a foam roller, but it's a really dense foam. It doesn't really get squishier. There's a lot of different types of foam rollers, and in general, when I recommend a certain type of foam roller to get to people, there's not a certain brand name that I'm married to or anything, but I do make sure to suggest to folks that they get a foam roller that does have PVC pipe in the middle. So this one doesn't, but again, this is kind of my on the go in my truck foam roller, and it is really sturdy foam that doesn't really get spongier over time. But when you've got a foam roller with PVC pipe in the middle, regardless of how much you use it and how squishy and how much give the outside foam layer has, it'll always stay pretty firm on you. So it's pretty much a one-time purchase, then cheap investment that'll last you forever. So I'm going to start off with the anterior delts and a little bit of the pecs. And when it comes to doing your anterior delts and pecs, it can be kind of tricky, but you want to use leverage to your advantage. So I'm going to show you how I get a little bit inverted when I do this. Hit my left side first. I'm going to position this so it's going kind of diagonal across my chest and delts. So you see how my hips are up high, really leaning down into it. Got the foam roller positioned diagonal up across clavicular portion of my pecs and anterior delts, going nice and slow. And what I like about getting inverted here is not only can I put pressure down, but I can kind of rock my body, explore a little bit differently, use leverage to my advantage, see what I can find. Getting a little bit of popping in the shoulders right now. That's not a bad thing. Fluid and air moving around, helping to lubricate my joints, kind of adjusting myself, so to speak. So I rock towards you, I get a little bit more of the anterior delts, and I rock away from you, get a little bit more of the pecs. Keep in mind, I'm only addressing one portion of my delts and one portion of my pecs. Your pecs are a pennant or a fan-shaped muscle group. They span a lot of territory. Inserts up here and spreads out kind of like a fan. So I'm up here close to the insertion point. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the other side. Although I am doing this for educational purposes for y'all, I do want to get a well-rounded foam rolling session in. So I probably spent, like I said, no more than a minute. And you'll notice how I'm not just shifting back and forth, teeter-tottering. You want to make sure you go nice and slow. If you go quickly in an abrupt fashion on the foam roller, then you might get a recoil effect, which negates what we're trying to get out of this. We're trying to loosen, soften, push out lactic acid, cellular waste, and increase blood flow and circulation in our muscles. And if you go at it aggressively, just trying to get through it, more isn't better, better is better. Faster isn't better, slow and steady is better. Sometimes you might find something that's barking at you like I am right here, And I'll spend a little bit of time on there, just rest over it and shift my body weight back and forth, create a little bit of traction, and then I'll carry on my slow, steady rolling. Notice how I'm rocking away from you to hit my anterior delts, rocking towards you as I roll to hit more of my pecs. Pecs towards the insertion point. My glenohumeral joint right up here under my armpit. A couple more good ones. All right, now foam rolling, a lot of the time, although we're doing it for relaxation purposes, you could say, it is some work. So you're manipulating your body weight, you're holding yourself, adjusting yourself, finding what you need, learning how to breathe through it. So sometimes it can feel like a lot of work. So for that reason, I'd like to switch from anterior to posterior. So I just hit the anterior facing down. I'm gonna focus on the posterior facing up now. And what I'm gonna focus on are my traps. Base of my neck, scapular elevators at the base of my neck, and my upper back, my traps, and a little bit of rhomboids. So I'm gonna position this right there towards my upper scap. Again, you want to use your body weight and leverage to your advantage. So I'm going to invert and relax my head in my hands. You really want to make sure that your neck is not flexing and engaged here. Relax your neck, hips up high. Notice how I'm getting this teeter-tottering motion in again. I roll and I rock. Rock and roll. What you can do here is shift most of your weight towards one side. Place a bigger emphasis on the right or the left side. So basically what I'll do is a couple rolls on one side and a couple on the other side, as long as they're long and slow. Really focus on relaxing my neck. Always cradling my head with my hands. Now, a lot of us, when we get tight in the upper back and we carry a lot of stress up here in our scapular elevators, you can really pinpoint in this swoop right here. And I'm going to show you how. Let's say I'm going for my left side, my upper traps. So what you'll do, invert, still supporting my head, and you see how I'm right there in that nook, putting a lot of pressure down on my upper trapezius. Getting the side of my neck a little bit. I carry a lot of tension there from paddling on the water. And what I'm trying to really roll is a big, strong neck muscle. That's the Sternocleidomastoid. It sounds like a dinosaur. I'm gonna go ahead and address that on the other side too. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Oh yeah. Feels like I got a nice little massage there. Now I did spend more than 60 seconds on that area, but technically I'm addressing multiple muscle groups there. The base of my neck, upper traps, a little bit of rhomboids, a little bit of external rotators. It's creeping out here towards the posterior delts. And like I said, going for some deep neck musculature like the sternocleidomastoid. So worth exploring. All right, moving right along. I'm gonna go back to anterior. And I'm going to focus more, previously we hit the anterior delts and the insertion point of your pecs. I'm going to focus more on the sternal portion of my pecs now and a little bit more of the medial clavicular portion of my pecs. So there's real estate in here where your pecs are not quite as meaty. You notice they're a little thicker out here, a little thinner right in here, but And like I said, they take up a lot of real estate, and it's a fan-shaped muscle, inserts and spreads, and I want to make sure that we address all of that. It's good to focus on the sternal portion of your pectoralis. That way you can open up. If you're doing any type of upper body exercises that require overhead movement or opening up, then if we're getting tight in here where our pecs attach to our sternum, then that can be restrictive for us. So I approach this a little bit differently. Going to position the foam roller parallel to my body, to my torso, and then I'm going to roll sideways. So instead of diagonal up and down, we're sideways now. Again, use your body weight, use leverage to your advantage. Hips are not as high in the air this time. Start right in the middle and have my arm out wide. I'm going to hit my right side first and just roll side to side, horizontal, lateral motion, right back onto my sternum, and I kind of smash the pecs right to the middle of my pecs. There's a little bit of overlap from the previous area that we addressed on the pecs, but that's perfectly fine. Now I'm talking to you while I do this. I'm still trying to breathe. You want to make sure that you're allowing your breath to assist you in the effectiveness of rolling, of anything you're using the foam roller for. Sync up my breath with my left side here. Every time I exhale, I really drape over the foam roller, let myself melt over the foam roller. My pecs are completely disengaged. My pecs are pretty sore right now. I've been doing some push-ups, some chest presses. Like I said, paddling on the water, a lot of internal rotation, a lot of pec minor activation. And I picture the foam roller kind of being like you're taking a rolling pin in the kitchen and you've got a sponge. And if that sponge is your muscle full of lactic acid and cellular waste, you're pushing it, rolling it out, just watching if the sponge was kind of saturated, just watching it spew and push out. Now that might not be exactly what happens, but that's the image I like to think of, and it's kind of a therapeutic image for me to think about that. I'm gonna get a couple more rolls because my pecs are pretty darn sore. Just rolling that sponge out. All right, let's switch back to the posterior, and what we'll focus on now are your posterior delts and your triceps. Let me get really the upper half of your triceps and the posterior delts. My left side first. So you're going to start with the foam roller right behind the crease of your armpit extended. To make sure that this top arm is not pushing on the ground. If your top arm's pushing on the ground, not only are you taking away from applying pressure downward onto the foam roller, but you're then engaging the muscles that you're trying to roll. Okay, we want to relax and drape ourselves over the foam roller, let the foam roller do its job, and if we're contracting our muscles, that negates what we're trying to get out of it. Kind of like if you go too fast, you're a little too abrupt with the way you foam roll, if you're a little overzealous, or if you're just trying to flee and escape maybe some pain you're experiencing, well, your muscles will recoil, contract, and that's no good. We're wasting our time then. So sometimes I'll use this top arm to lift up, and you see I'm rolling my triceps to my posterior delts. In order for me personally to get the most out of this, you'll see how I roll while I'm rocking front to back. And that's because when I lean back like this, I get my posterior delts and really the upper insertion point region of your latissimus dorsi as well, your lats, your wings. For me, if I lean back to get the lats and rear delts, transition to leaning forward to get the triceps. Now you can hit one or the other, but it's a pretty symbiotic relationship, rolling both at the same time with an easy transition that doesn't take away from either muscle group. So may as well kill two birds with one stone. There's efficiency in foam roller, just like in training. Give you a couple more. You'll notice how my hips are on the ground. That's fine. If you need a little more, you can lift the hips up and do the same thing. I'm actually pretty darn sore. Ooh. And I can go hips up, but it's helping me out a little bit to relax a little bit more when my hips are sliding on the ground. All right, I'm going to flip it over, give you backside view. Try to pay attention to how I'm rolling and rocking front to back. Right in the armpit crease extended. Really syncing my breath up with it. Long, steady breath in when I roll one direction. Slow, steady exhale as I roll the other direction. Couple more. Keep in mind the foam roller is not going to stay put. You might need to reposition it fairly frequently to maintain the position that you need. And if that's the case, then so be it. It's just nature of the beast. Foam rolling is a wonderful beast. Oh yeah, nice. All right, so I'm gonna go back to a face down, a prone type of position. What we're gonna focus on now are the medial delts. Medial delts extending down towards the area between your biceps and your triceps. Not a very meaty area, but this area is constantly working. Whether you're pulling or pushing, then muscles surrounding your humerus that technically are